You're listening to The Starting Zone, a podcast about World of Warcraft and the people who play it. And now, here are your hosts.
Well, hello and welcome to The Starting Zone, the podcast about World of Warcraft and people who play it. Today is April 1st, 2024, and my name is Spencer Downey. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Jason Lucas. Jason, how are you doing on this April of 1st?
Spencer, hello. Good afternoon. It certainly feels like a Monday for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's April 1st. I feel like, we got some April Fool's jokes floating around the WoW sphere this morning. I haven't had time to look at any of them, but I'm kind of not in the mood anymore. I don't think. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the fake patch notes are funny and all, but I feel like as a community, we've moved past the need for this, which is personally. I do miss the days when they used to make little flash games, and there'd be like a joke flash game out for April 1st. That was kind of cool, but yeah, I don't know. I guess just beware. Just everybody be safe out there with your with your interneting today.
Yeah, I will say that I'll probably read the patch notes through someone's stream. I'll probably go to Ted's or Josh's or someone's stream, so Sloot or Devos, and watch them go through the patch notes, because I think it'll be much more entertaining to do it with someone else than just on my own. I'll just find it more interesting to do that. So
yeah. Also, Josh used to write a lot of them, right? So like that should be it should be funny to watch him read ones that he didn't have anything to do with. If that's what he's doing this week. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, the team usually puts some pretty good jokes in there, so it's it's cool. But I think just culturally, we're all kind of exhausted from the internet April 1st prank show.
Well, I was saying this morning inside of our Discord channel for our listeners out there, because I wanted to report it here live as well on the show. There was an announcement out today that is not an April Fool's joke. Google is in fact shutting down their Google Podcast stuff, which you've probably received an alert for or an email for or something about from them. They are migrating all of their Google Podcasts over to YouTube Music. And so they're basically saying, hey, we're out of the podcast business. YouTube Music's going to handle it now. So if you're someone who listened through Google Podcasts, be sure you are saving your playlists or migrating your playlists so that you're not waking up. I think it's tomorrow or on the 4th. It's very soon. And being like, hey, where did all my podcasts go? And the app doesn't work anymore. And what podcast was I listening to? I don't remember. And just be sure you get all that stuff in there so that you can be sure your TSZ goes uninterrupted with what you're trying to do listening wise.
It's so weird, Google, sunsetting or rebranding a product. I mean, it's pretty unprecedented. So, right? Anyway, yeah, a good heads up there, because there's a lot of different ways to get podcasts, and I guess there's going to be one fewer as of this week. So
exactly.
Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. All right. What did you get up to this past week in World of Warcraft?
Oh man, it was another light week, I would say. We sort of have dropped the normal Farrak farm, I think, entirely, because pretty much everybody has an axe that cares to. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody who shows up regularly is even pretty caught up on trinkets and rare drops from Farrak on normal difficulty track. So we didn't do that, which means we had plenty of time for heroic. We had a decently healthy group. Starting to get some people back in a little bit, but not quite enough for mythic. We did the skip. We did the unlock to Smolderon so that we could go do Farrak early and then go back through and clean up, which I think worked a bit better. Keeping everybody fresh and keeping their heads in the game instead of trying to squeeze in the kill at the end of the night. Farrak was such an easy reclear for us for so long, but we've just had so much brain drain. It's helped getting a couple really solid healers back in the group. That helps tremendously on heroic Farrak, so that was nice. That was my only night really of playing multiplayer WoW. Did a key. I forget what we even did. I think it was some flavor of a Taldazar, like a 22-ish Taldazar. It was, not an amazing week to slam keys, and nobody was really in the mood to do any more. Nobody hit me up hey, let's get some keys in. I need to get caught up, or I need to get something done this week. So that was really it. Beyond that, I I've been playing my daily Plunderstorm matches because I want the rewards. It's kind of dumb, but I don't know. I really don't like the mode. Like, it's just not what I want to be doing with my WoW time. I've sort of come to grips with, what is being asked of me, at least. Like, they made some changes this week that we'll talk about too, which were great. So that helps a lot. And so I kind of get in there, and I get about like 2 games in and I get out, man. Sometimes 3 games. Sometimes my goal is basically, okay, at bare minimum, I'm going to get my 800 plunder daily done, right? Like, that's happening no matter what, even if I'm not really going to sit down and play. If I have a little bit of time and I feel like playing, then my ceiling is like 2 renown ranks. And if, once I get 2 ranks, it's like, okay, I'm done for today, and that's plenty. And with the, they buffed how much plunder you get at this point, and so really, it's not a huge investment of games, which is okay. It's I don't know. It's still not like what I really want to be doing. I don't particularly like the mode on its own merits, and I would rather be playing my WoW character, but the rewards are really cool, and there's something that I want to have on my account in perpetuity. I feel like they're, slowly but surely kind of shaving down some of those more rough edges on, for a player like me. I don't really want to get in there and deeply engage with the mode, but I want to check it out and get the rewards. And so it's getting a little bit closer to that. I would still like to see some kind of event, maybe like an event weekend or something, like double or plus 50% plunder or something, or renown at least, like some kind of modifier end of game, or maybe towards the end of, I want to say the season, but that's not really right. Like towards the end of Plunderstorm running, whenever that's going to be, maybe something like that, just to help people top everything up. But,
yeah.
it's been part of my daily routine lately, and I don't love that for myself, but I'm coming to grips with it, and I get a couple games in. It doesn't. I mean, the good thing is, to get your quest done and kind of top out on the amount of like passive plunder you can quickly get. That only takes a few minutes per lobby.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
like
a
10 minute to 15-minute commitment to be able to do it, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, right. Even to get like a handful of games in, you could do in 15 minutes. If all you're trying to do is get your plunder quick. So it's it's not a huge ask, but I don't know. I still don't find a mode very fun on its own merits, I guess.
Yeah, I certainly think it's a mode that is for someone who's not looking to play World of Warcraft. Like it isn't the same game. It's not what the game's about.
That's a good way to put it. That sums up how I feel about it, really. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're looking to play World of Warcraft, then this isn't the game mode for you, because it really isn't World of Warcraft. But I'll say that I've also been doing the same thing as you. I've been logging in every day, doing 2 to 3 games, knocking out that quest, and then going, all right, that's my dailies off my checklist done, right? It's the same sort of thing I do with Hearthstone, where I'm like, hey, there's an event going on right now. I need to play 2 games to be able to complete the stuff for the limited time event. I'll play 2 Hearthstone games today. Done. That's off the list. I'm doing that currently with Helldivers 2, because I play Helldivers 2 as well. Get in, do the one quest thing, bang, it's off the list. And then I'm like, all right, so what do I want to actually spend my time doing, right? Like, that's sort of you get through the checklist and you're like, all right, now how do I actually want to spend my time playing a game? And that's, I think, probably the largest factor for me with Plunderstorm is there's going to be times where you have a really good time and you're enjoying playing with your friends. And, we got an announcement saying that this week, starting tomorrow, they're going to add a 3v3 version where there's 3 people, there's going to be 20 squads of 3 people inside the place. I've only had fun in this game mode playing with other people. It's the only time I've had fun doing it. So I like, as I said, if the rewards weren't something that everyone needed to earn, I would almost lean towards just them committing to, we're not going to have a single player game mode for this. We're just going to have duos and trios, and that's all we're going to have. But the issue is, you need to have a game mode where people who just want the rewards can do what Jason and I are doing, which is get in, grab stuff, and get out if they can't get their buddies together on a day so they can get their daily done. So, and I suppose you could play with randoms or queue in with like a quick match kind of idea is what they could set up and have that going. But I still think that the game mode itself is it's just not what I'm looking for right now. I think if I was looking for something like this, I would look more towards, Call of Duty kind of era, or even PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, which is still around, or some other games that, in my opinion, just do this more of a way that I enjoy it. than this is. So yeah, I at least it's short. At least it only takes 5 minutes to get in and play a match and get out, kind of idea. But I think that Plunderstorm in general could have a place to exist. I just think it's unfortunate that you have to log into World of Warcraft in order to switch over to Plunderstorm and then play it, because that implies or gives the impression that you are going to play World of Warcraft when this is just a very different game that you're actually playing. So it just happens to use the same art assets. That's really all it comes down to, is the art assets are like the only thing that's consistent between them. Even the abilities are made up abilities that don't exist in the actual game of World of Warcraft. So yeah, it's its own beast. As far as last week goes, though, yeah, the majority of my time was spent plunderstorming. I did a little bit of live WoW. I prepped some for Classic WoW because we have the Season of Discovery Phase 3 coming out on Thursday. So I'll be hopping into that, hopefully playing some with Josh and them and leveling up and getting ready for the level 50 content that's out there with Sunken Temple. But outside of that, I didn't do a ton else in World of Warcraft. I didn't like accomplish something amazing or do a raid. I basically was like, let's do my little errands and chores and get this cleaned up and move that around. And I upgraded my computer on Friday. So my Friday and Saturday were sort of eaten up doing first installing stuff and figuring out what was wrong. Because that's what always happens when you build a computer is, why isn't it turning on? Well, let's try and find out why it's not turning on, because that's, important. And then you have to install everything, do all the Windows updates, do all the reinstalls, make sure your UI looks good. FYI, again, I know I've said this in the past, but if you are ever going to reinstall Windows on your computer, there's two folders that you should always have backups of for your game. You go into your World of Warcraft folder. There's one folder named Interface. This one's going to vary in size based off of how many add-ons you have, because it contains all of your add-ons and all of their settings. And the WTF folder, which is the folder that contains all of your macros, all of your choices for how your graphics are set, your resolutions, your UI scale, all your edit mode stuff for where stuff's placed on your screen. All of that is inside, and all that for all of your characters is all inside your WTF folder. So grab those two folders, Interface and WTF, throw those into a Dropbox or a OneDrive or a USB key or your email or wherever you want to put it. Just have those as backups. It's good to do at least once every big major WoW update. I guess every .5 or major patch, just back those two up. Because if something goes wrong or you reinstall or something crashes or whatever happens, you can literally reinstall World of Warcraft before you even open it. Move those folders into the World of Warcraft folder, and you'll suddenly have the game exactly how you remember it the last time you opened it. And it's wonderful. I kind of wonder whether or not Blizzard should actually invest in cloud basing, backing up people's, not interface, but at least WTF folders. I feel like that's something that they could look into doing just to make everyone's life easier. Like when you have a game on Steam and you close that game and you uninstall it and you pick up a new computer and 5 years later you open that game, it will have your saves there because they're all cloud-based. It just puts all those into a text file in the cloud and literally pulls them all down when you reinstall the game, and you suddenly have all of your saves and everything still around. So I feel like Blizzard might want to look into that at some point for the WTF folder, because it's such a nice quality of life to open up World of Warcraft and be like, oh, my UI is still there. I don't have to redo my entire UI, which is such a chore. So that was very rewarding.
Yeah, server-side WTF would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like modern games don't really work like that, right? Or you don't expect them to, really. So
yeah,
it's a good thing to bring up, like especially since you were just kind of working on a project like that. Like, yeah, having backups of your WTF folder is a huge time saver and headache saver.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a little bit of a symptom of how old I think WoW really is that yeah, it's up to the user to kind of have local backups of, interface settings and stuff like that. But yeah, I always keep one kind of handy. Although now that you mentioned it, mine's a little outdated, so I should probably make a fresh copy for myself.
Yeah, I think mine was from 2021 or 2022. It was 2022 was the last time I had my backup from. So I was like, I better make another one of these, even though I don't think my UI has changed a lot since Shadowlands. But I did it anyways, and yeah, it was nice to be able to, like, if you save the interface one as well, like if you do WTF and interface, all your weak auras, all of that is saved inside the interface folder. So if you take those two, you'll have all your add-on settings, you'll have all of your actual WoW game settings, and they'll all be exactly the way that they were previously. So that's the tip of the top of the day, I guess, for how that's going. But all right, with that, let's hop into what's going on this week, because we do have a bit of a show to talk about. All right, this week is the Legion Time Walking event, where the sign of the Legion buff is up, increasing reputation gains from Legion quests and combat by 50%. And of course, characters level 45 and up can access Time Walking versions of Blackrock Hold, Court of Stars, Darkheart Thicket, Eye of Ishara, Neltharian's Lair, and Vault of the Wardens. And completing 5 of these gets you a cache of normal Mirdasil gear, as well as the dungeons drop in 428 eye level gear on the adventurer track. And of course, the vendor is selling off some 411 eye level gear as well. So for people who are like, hey, I've got a character, I want to get some more gearing up going on, this is a great way to do it. If for people who are like, hey, I really wanted to finish off my Legion reputations and get my Paragon bags and everything, this is the time. Head on back to Legion. You got yourself your Time Walking event, getting yourself that extra reputation gains from combat and quests. That's a pretty big deal. So you can get yourself some extra Legion reputation if that's something you're wanting to do in this downtime for the live game. And obviously leading into the phase 3 of Season of Discovery, if that's something you're doing, this can fill a couple of days for you.
For sure. I mean, there was a lot of stuff to collect from Legion, right? I mean, the Paragon bags were so good. Paragon bags have only gotten worse since the Legion days. They've just sort of slid down the hill.
They literally
right?
have gotten worse since that was the pinnacle of Paragon bags.
They were incredible. It was the first time we saw them. And we're like, oh, this is so cool. And it really dovetailed well with the daily quest, world quest system that was new back then, because it just gave you a nice reward for continuing to engage with that stuff. So yeah, that's a nice bonus. You know, some of the other time walking events, it's like, yeah, you have like the rep bonus, but there's no, I mean, you could go, I don't know, like grind appropriate, dungeons or daily quests or something, but is that really what you want to be doing? Maybe not. World quests are so much more user friendly, and Legion's the only time walking event that has that right now. So that is a cool way to take advantage of the event and maybe check something off your list, and of course the dungeons are great. I mean, Legion's my favorite expansion still, to this day. And now a lot of these dungeons we've seen lately, they feel pretty fresh in our minds if we've been doing Mythic Plus. Blackrock Hold's in the pool right now, Court of Stars was in recently. Darkheart's in right now. Neltharian's was in recently. So Eye of Ishara is not really my favorite. Vault of the Wardens is a cool dungeon, though. I really like that one. So it's a fun dungeon pool, and I think time walking is a great way to level up. When you start getting to that top end of the leveling process, I like it. I like dungeon combat a lot. So I think this is a great event. I probably won't be taking advantage of it just because there's no benefit for my main character, and I'm really not in a mode where, I'm playing alts a lot or anything, or like trying to level anybody up. I guess my only thing with this is now may not be a great time to really invest a lot of time in leveling a character, or I shouldn't say that. I should say gearing a character, right? If you have a character that's been kind of chilling and you're like, oh, I should start getting some stuff, you might want to just wait for season roll, because all the stuff is going to get bumped up. It's going to be really easy to get much better gear than this. Like everything's going to go up 39 item levels or whatever, right? And so this kind of scaled content and like intro level content is going to be way more lucrative and relevant. You're actually going to be gearing it up for the season that you're going to be playing. So that's maybe the kind of math I would be doing in my own head. Like, is this worth doing right now, or should I just wait? Yeah. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird time because we don't know. We know the season's close, but we don't know how close.
We know it's a few weeks after Plunderstorm, right? Is what we were told. So
yeah,
we know it's probably 5 weeks or out or so, something like that.
Something like that, I would think. Yeah, I would think like early May, but we don't know for sure, and we do know it's going to be in this data, so it's not like they have to do a whole lot to roll the season because it's not going to be on a separate patch, right? So I don't know. I guess that's my only thing is if you want to hop in there, that I think there's plenty of good reasons to this week, but you may also say it's not really worth it yet because we're right at the end of season roll here. So
I just thought of something, which is potentially the reason why they're choosing to end Plunderstorm just before the release of the new patch is because most likely the patch will break Plunderstorm and they don't want to have to fix it. That's my assumption of what's going to happen is
Maybe.
because that happens with most games. Most games when they have something like this, they patch one thing and you're like, well, guess what? In Plunderstorm, now we drop fish as opposed to plunder and there's just piles of fish everywhere. Why did that happen? Well, we patched World of Warcraft and something happened inside the back end. So,
give me Murloc themed Plunderstorm. Everybody's a Murloc, and you're picking up piles of fish instead of piles of gold.
He's in now. Now he's in.
All right,
now he's sold.
I'm all the way back in. Plunderstorm Season 2, Murloc Storm.
Storm.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Another thing to check out for everyone's favorite hedgehog out there, the Gotta Go Fast quest for completing a Battleground Blitz, which will award 5 marks of honor, some conquest, and some honor as well. You can get that done. There's also the PvP brawl for Cooking Impossible, where Nomi's back, and he's going to bring you the most dangerous pots and pans in the Valley of the Four Winds. You're going to be fighting a battle inside their kitchens. Basically, Nomi is going to be cooking up a meal inside each kitchen, and you're going to have the Alliance and Horde, or Team A and Team B, because of Mercenary mode. You never know if they're going to be Alliance or Horde, or Alliance and Alliance, Horde and Horde. And they're going to be fighting to be the first one to finish their dish, and they need certain ingredients. You'll be going out into the fields, collecting up ingredients, killing off animals, and getting meats, and bringing them back to your pot to try and cook up that meal before the other team does. You can, however, mess with the other team. You can go over by their pot, stun them, knock them back, mess with them, kill them off, all that kind of thing. If someone's taken the yak that you wanted to kill, then you can fight them for the yak. Like, that kind of thing can happen. Overall, I think it's a great battle brawl. It's just in general a lot of fun, and I think it really shines in a giving a player versus player scenario an alternative objective that really spices things up. It's one of the best examples of that WoW's done. So I certainly would encourage people to check it out. And if you get a win, you get yourself some marks of honor, conquest, and honor. So do some Cooking Impossible if you're looking for something just for, a fun time this week. Just queue into at least one of them and just check it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cooking Impossible is awesome. It's cool because, there is that PvE element, and I feel like I can do stuff as in a tank spec that is a bit more, useful to my team, more productive. And part of it is kind of playing goalie against, the other team's pot and all that. And then there's also, just straight up NPC element. It's really fun. The theming, I think, is great. This is one of my favorite brawls. So definitely worth a look this week if you're looking for some, something different to do. I kind of wish that all the brawls were in this mode of bringing in something different and kind of like maybe lighthearted or just silly. And, they do that with a lot of them, but, that really is not just a twist on on a familiar battleground. This is like its own different formula, which is why it's cool.
Yeah, it certainly is cool. It's certainly worth checking out. So yeah, check it out. All right. We have Oristar the Hibernator, the big old bear that you can knock down to try and get yourself some Rune Bear appearances for your Druid, or maybe some 441 loot. That's the Rune Bear in Emerald Dream. So if you want the World Boss, I'm sure you're doing the World Boss this week out there. Mythic Plus affixes for the week are Fortified, Incorporeal, and Sanguine, meaning non-boss enemies have 20% more health and deal increased damage. While in combat, incorporeal beings periodically appear and attempt to weaken players. And when slain, non-boss enemies leave behind a lingering pool of ichor that heals their allies and damages players. So overall, fortified-wise, this is like an ugly week for trash, in my opinion. It's not terrible, but it's just uglier. Like, you're going to have trash that's going to be alive longer. It has a higher amount of health, which means if it steps into a sanguine pool, it's going to heal at a larger amount, because the sanguine healing is based off percentage of health. So those mobs are going to take longer to die. It's more important that you have knockbacks, ways to stun them and keep them out of these pools. Now, these pools don't linger for too long, which is nice, so they will go away and not slow down your run too much. But you throw Incorporeal on top of that, and you're dealing with trash for longer, which means you're more likely to see Incorporeal beings more often, which means the whole thing is just a bit more of a slog. And as Jason will, I'm sure, emphasize, you just got to be sure you're bringing the right composition to your group, right? I mean, that's really what this is about, Jason, is making sure your team is ready.
Well, Yeah, I mean for sure. That's a big part of it this week. Incorp is not as comp dependent as Afflicted, I would say, because even if you can't like cleanse the thing, I mean, which you can't do anyway, right? That's not what you're doing. But like, even if you don't have a cleanse, you probably have an interrupt or a stun or some other kind of like kick or soft CC, right? And the incorporeal beings are susceptible to all of those methods. It's not super efficient. You don't really want to like sit there and burn kicks and stuns on these things because you're fighting stuff that you probably more urgently want to kick and stun. But it does work, right? Like you can do that. I can, if there's some kind of an emergency, I can bail my team out and drop a stun on something, and then buy us, you know, the duration of the stun plus whatever the cast time is on the mob's thing, you know, or maybe like almost twice the mob's cast bar, right? If I stun it late, then it's spent all that time casting, then a 4-second stun, and then it's got to start casting again. Cool. And incorporeal, this is the first week we've seen it since the change came in with the patch where they're supposed to spawn closer to player locations. So that should help a bit with visibility and sight lines and just being able to react to these. Yeah, I mean, it's not a great affix, and it is going to happen during bosses, which stinks, even though it's, you know, a non-tyrannical week. Like, it's going to just add that extra wrinkle during boss fights. Overall, I think it's less odious than Afflicted because more people have tools to deal with it in some fashion. Like hard CCs just immediately shut them down. So if you have a hard CC available to your class, go ahead and take it. You know, just make sure you have it, you know, talented in before you get started and help your team out. You know, like whatever uptime loss you suffer from having to burn a GCD every combat or every other combat to, you know, drop a CC on incorporeal. It's gonna be the difference is gonna be negligible compared to if you have incorporeals going off the whole time, right? So, yeah, just keep that in mind before you get started. Make sure you tell everybody, you know, in your group, like, hey, does everybody have their CC talents on? Like, because you know sometimes we don't think about it. Then you count the thing down and you get started. And you're like, oh, I don't have my incorp talents.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you mentioned, Sanguine does kind of suck with Fortify because each tick is that much more punishing because of the bigger health pools. But you know, that's a big part of the tank's job this week is to make sure that you're backing up out of stuff. You know, the tank is pulling stuff away. DPS, you can help out minimize Sanguine by, you know, nuke down the caster or the ranged auto attacker, the archer, whatever. Get on top of that thing and kill it while your tank is pulling the melee mobs away from it, and then that's less healing that's going to go out. Displacements and stuff are also good if you have room for them while you're setting up your hard CC talent build this week. You know, if you take any kind of knocks or displacements, they can bail you out if there's a bad Sanguine situation. The nice thing is, as I mentioned every time it comes up lately, like Sanguine no longer stacks. So if you kill a bunch of stuff on top of it, it's not like this mob just going to be infinity healing for 20 seconds or whatever. Like you can maybe still out DPS it or at least prevent it from gaining health. You know, you can kind of just stay on it. But yeah, Sanguine is obnoxious, but there's a lot of counterplay options for it. And overall, like it's probably not going to hold you up that much. You know, once in a while you have those bad ones. You know, you have some bad luck and the archer disengages into the Sanguine puddle and then it full heals 5 times over or whatever. But yeah, beyond that, like I think it's less obnoxious than something like the ghosts. You know, it just doesn't hold you in combat. It just doesn't waste as much of your time when you're moving from pack to pack. And hey, man, if you set up your poles right, then you can just kill everything behind you and move in front of it, you know, and you won't have to worry about, oh, we can't pull this yet because the Sanguine needs to go away, or we need to be careful not to. We have so much area denial, we need to move this into the right place, or you know, something like that. It will probably really. I don't think I've done Sanguine Everbloom, and that probably really sucks. So have fun in there this week, but. There's just so many mobs and they're all on death eligible, right? So there's just a ton of puddles. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a mixed bag this week for sure. I think I preferred this week to last week. How's that for a silver lining?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to know when there's a better week for people to sort of involve themselves and choose to commit their time. Sort of like the tip you were given earlier on of, is this a good time to be gearing up a character? Is it worth waiting a month to see what happens as far as the next patch goes? It's, we're just trying to help you guys choose how you're sculpting your gaming time into your busy lives. So yeah, that's what this comes down to. All right. Another thing we got going on is Noble Garden. It is kicked off today and it only runs this week. So this is the perfect time to be recording a podcast because guess what? You get to check out Noble Garden this week and you're not missing it by a day. You get to hop in today and check it out. New this year, we got Valdrakken decked out in Noble Garden festiveness. And there's a Tisket, Tasket, and a Noble Garden basket, and as well as the Great Egg Hunt quests that are available. And basically you have to defend against disruptive ducks. Hey, guess what? They're back. The Furious Ducks, led by the druid Dayton Swiftplume, disrupts the Noble Garden festivities in Goldshire and Razor Hill. Discover Dayton's hideout and scare off the disruptive ducks to start the What the Duck quest. Seek out Zinnia Brooks in Goldshire and Solnaria Fairflame in Razor Hill. You get to also find a giant golden egg that appears in the area and drag it to Dayton's nest to summon him. If you defeat Dayton, you can defeat him daily for chances at rewards. And you can get yourself the lovely duckling battle pet, as well as the, it's the duck disguiser toy. That's what it is. You get the duck disguiser toy that you can have as well from finishing the What the Duck quest. The lovely duckling comes from the vendor for Noble Garden for Alliance and Horde. So head out to those to check those out as well. Man, Jason, What the Duck, man.
I believe the duck disguiser turns you into a duck, like yourself. So what you do is you turkey shooter somebody and then duck disguiser yourself.
Oh.
Right. And then you can
battle to the death as birds.
Or just assert your dominance because the ducks have such nice new models and the turkeys are like 15-year-old, Cataclysm models or something. This just went live in North America, like as we've been sitting here speaking, so we haven't had a chance to do this yet. But I've talked on the show many times about how Noble Garden used to be like my least favorite holiday, and it it cratered my my first crack at Long Strange Trip. But I am interested to see this rework. The rewards look really cool, like a big duck mount and there's a new flying carpet and
the flying carpet. I have to pause on that. The flying carpet is, of course, pink and teal and like it's very, very Easter colors, but it's cool. Like it is a cool looking mount. And I've seen the flying carpets before. It has eggs hanging from each of the decorated eggs hanging from each of the corners. Like it's cool looking, man. They actually, I feel like puts a lot more effort into it than I would have expected them to.
Yeah, it's pretty elaborate, and hey, the only other magic carpet I could think of is from Legion Paragon bags, right? So it's all coming together. But yeah, the duck mount is really cool, man. I hope I get that. We'll see. And any kind of toy, any kind of transformation toy is always high on my list. I think they're super fun. So I think they added some cool rewards to a holiday that's been, for me, very bland. So that's cool. I think Noble Garden really needed a bit of a refresher, although with the short duration, man, there's a lot of pressure. There's the Noble Gardener's Hearthstone. That's like if you ever wanted to live out your Disney princess fantasies, like all the creatures of the forest, rally to you while you're casting your Hearthstone. That's pretty cool. And yeah, I don't know. That's not new, but I'm pretty sure I don't have that one, right? I let some of the stuff lapse over the years, so I got to check. There's probably a bunch of stuff on my list. I'm hoping, there's daily quests and stuff. Hopefully there's other stuff to do, and maybe not. I don't know. It seems like the duck thing is one activity, and then there's the sit and click chocolates thing. But I'm kind of hoping maybe I can get the rewards from various methods. But clicking the chocolates is a little mind-numbing, I would say. It's just not. It's not super interactive. Compared to what they did with Love is in the Air, where it's like, here, do these 2 quests on a daily basis, and then buy everything you want. Perfect. So we'll see. I'll get in there and start doing some stuff. But man, I'm here for the duck themed cosmetics. Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely here for the ducks as well. I will say that the one correction I have to make in what we said is, as someone who was a tailor during Burning Crusade, that was where the original flying carpet came from. There was the tailoring craftable mount that was just for tailors. That was a flying carpet that you could make back then. So I understand why you didn't know it existed, because you weren't tailoring back then.
I wasn't doing a lot of tailoring back then. No, not really. Yeah.
But the tailoring gear for mages back in Burning Crusade was phenomenal. It was one of the best craftable sets you could possibly have that they've thrown into the game. So I remember tailoring quite well back then. And yes, that's where the OG flying carpet came from. But yes, I'm glad to have seen this be developed. It didn't actually have like ripples in it. The OG one was just flat. It was just a flat rectangle that you flew around on. That's what it was. So yeah, it was cool because you're on a flying carpet. But yeah, it's one of those things. All right, moving on from that, you also have the March of the Tadpoles taking place. That's on April 5th. So if you're someone who wants to foster a baby winterfin murloc of Borean Tundra and help them complete their trip across the West Rift, this is your time to get your special painting from them or thank you gift from them and enjoy this experience that Jason remembers oh so fondly every year.
Little Spike out there, my Murloc son. It's time for him to, take his trip across the West Rift. Yeah, it's a one-day deal. Again, there's no like character power benefit or anything, but it is really fun, and there's a ton of baby Murlocs running around and babbling. So this is only Friday in, I guess in every region, right? It's just Friday local. So go check it out if you never did it. Like if you think Murlocs are cool or fun or cute or funny, then you should go do this. It doesn't take very long. The only bummer here is that if you've done this on a character, then you're done. You don't do the quest every year or anything. It's just, oh, you already did this. Like you could talk to your Murloc child once again, and they'll give you a gift. But you don't get the questing is like it's one-time story questing once per character, which I feel like they should make them repeatable, make it an event quest. But a lot of people probably missed out on this, though. With the amount of churn that WoW has, and a micro holiday like this, it's a one-day thing. You may have missed this. So if you think of it Friday, head out to Borean Tundra and go hang out with the baby Murlocs because it's fun. I might go just do it just because, just to see them.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, just wanting to visit and see how they're doing and check in. Like, I understand. There's a little sentimental value there. I know you still hang on to the gift that they gave you way back in the day for helping.
I do. It's still in my bank, yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's why we have void storage, too, is for fun things like that you want to tuck away. All right. Hot fixes for the week. Holy Priests, they, I guess, helped you, but also hurt you. They made it so that your Lightwell no longer heals people that are affected by immunities like Cyclone. So Holy Priests who are using Lightwell to essentially heal their friends who were being denied healing because they were cycloned inside of an arena, that's no longer a thing. So unfortunate for you. However, fortunate for you, they also resolved it so that Lightwell no longer despawns your Shadow Fiend when you use it. So that's also good. So I think it's a win-win. Let's just call it a win across the board.
Let's get to pick one. Listen, you're summoning way too many things. Okay, you pick one or the other. That's it.
Man, imagine totems work that way. Oh goodness.
Oh, that'd be really fun. Yeah, just you have to just
time
totem. You have to rotate them. Yeah, that'd be really engaging gameplay.
I still want my totem wagon, man. I want the little like wagon that you can get that follows you around that you put all your totems in. You just travel.
That'd be
you.
Cool. See, that'd be a cool toy. That'd be a good toy idea. Yeah. Maybe
you make it only work in the outdoor world and it doesn't work inside dungeons, and then that way it's balanced. I don't know, but like
that'd be funny.
Still, all right. Plunder Storm. They did some hot fixes in here as well. They increased the amount of plunder inside of plunder piles in solo matches by 50%. They made it they made it so when you revive a teammate, it only takes 10 seconds down from 15. They made it so that the cooldown to be able to use your healing after you were revived is only 10 seconds down from 15. They've gone through and essentially made the game more accessible to help people get their stuff done faster, which is why Jason and I are saying, hey, it just takes you like 10 minutes a day to do your daily quest if that's what you're looking to do. I don't know if that's going to get you to cap before this ends. It should, potentially, but You might want to, towards the end, as Jason said, if they put in some sort of boost, actually commit that time commit up from 10 minutes to like 40 minutes or 30 minutes. And then suddenly you'll hopefully be getting there even faster. They also went through and did a lot of ability tuning. I'll let the people who are really into Plunderstorm go through and look at that, because you probably already have. I know people who look at it like the moment an update comes out, because they did an update on like Thursday last week, Friday last week, Saturday last week. Like they were working their way through. There was the big Plunderstorm tournament this past weekend, so I know they were trying to get a lot of stuff sort of squared away before that invitational happened, which was... I have to say, there are opinions being shared about that tournament, and I do agree with a lot of them. The strangest of which was some people, it seemed, got to either pick their partners or were just paired very conveniently, and other people were just assigned with random people. And the people who were assigned with random people did not do as well as those who like got to pick their best bud who they PvP with all of the time. I'm just saying, that's just one of those things that, if you're going to have a tournament for money, I feel like there should be some sort of even field there that you're trying to create. But it was a good time. People seem to enjoy it.
It's a work. Everything is a work in sports and in esports and in entertainment. So it was highly worked. I didn't actually watch any of the tournament, but I did appreciate the 50% solos plunder buff. My sort of like per game target has moved up from 500 plunder to like 800 plunder, as you might expect with that kind of an increase, right? So you start ticking off ranks quite a bit faster with that, which is awesome. I have to be honest, when it comes to the combat tuning of these abilities, man, it's like I don't really engage in that much combat in these games, so I don't really notice much of a difference, because I usually just run around and PvE and kill as many creatures as I can and get as much plunder as I can, and then if a player finds me, I usually die in a couple of GCDs. So like that's about it, So I don't I know that obviously they've had some outliers with like Fey Form and Fire Whirl and stuff like that, and they've been reining those abilities in and stuff. The in-match leveling changes, I think, are really noticeable, because you fly through the early levels and then it definitely like plateaus, which is it's nice. Yeah, I mean, I haven't run into as many situations where I'm like level 5 and I'm running into like level 9 and 10 players. That's good. I feel like they're really concentrating the good parts, like the good feeling parts, into the early game, and trying to extend that out as much as possible.
The biggest thing is not ending up, as you sort of said, towards the end of a match, if you're in the top 20 teams or top 15 teams remaining, where you are level 5 and 6 and other people are level 10, and you're just literally cowering and hiding and trying to like find a spot where you can take advantage of something, or you're just killing anything you can possibly find to try and get another level to just try and close that gap a bit, which I feel like, and as this is something that I know Josh talked about in his Sounds Good Makes Sense show that he does on YouTube, that there's definitely the feeling of the difference between being level 5 and level 6 is too much of a leap. There needs to be less of a leap in levels. Levels are neat, and it's a cool concept to have, but there shouldn't be so much of a difference between a level 6 and level 9 that the 6 is just getting stomped into the ground. There should still be a lot of like, hey, counterplay, hey, this worked out, hey, you did this well, without having to have perfect play, because this level 9 just does more damage than you and has substantially more health than you. So I do feel like they could probably reduce the jumps between levels, particularly at the high end. I think would be nice to see. But you also mentioned something else. You mentioned 2 other things, actually, that I wanted to touch on, which is Fey Form no longer has any damage reduction. This was a really big change. This used to be a 90% damage reduction. Then it was a 50% damage reduction. Now it's no damage reduction. So that was a really big shift for that ability. So people who are really relying on Fey Form, be sure that you're kind of changing that up, because you're going to feel it in a really big way. And then the other thing you touched on was, in fact, the leveling stuff. So yeah, I think overall it's moving to a good spot. I'm curious what threes feels like. I think there's a lot of sort of synchronization of abilities and symbiotic relationships between abilities that you can take advantage of with a 3v3 situation. So we'll have to find out how that sort of works. There's also a lot of like someone going back for their buddy situations that can happen. There should be a lot more plunder earned. You should be getting like 50% more plunder than you were in duos. So there should be a lot more plunder that you're able to earn as a team. And you can almost like lock down an area a bit better, I feel like. So it'll be curious to see how this all plays out. It'll also be harder for people to get abilities at the very start of a game. So that's going to be the other fun part is there's only so many abilities to go around. They're not increasing creature density. So there's still going to be the same amount of creatures on the map, but you and your buddies there's going to be more people concentrated in areas than there were in, usually. So there'll be, more abilities to sort of spread around to folks. So you gotta pay attention to that too. Overall,
so when you have the bad drop, you should have the bad drop RNG less, right? Because there's fewer locations being dropped. But when you have it, it's gonna get really dicey, really fast, right? Like if you have like a couple groups, like if you have like 3 groups drop in the same space, relatively, forget it, man. It's gonna be just an all-out brawl. But it shouldn't happen as frequently because you have, you only have 20 drops, right? In a trios game, so. Yeah. It shouldn't happen very often, but when it does, it's going to be kind of gnarly.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll also be that case of if your buddy is not really paying attention and drops you into a place where there's just not a lot around, it's going to take you a long time to get your characters all geared up and abilities and everything, because you have to travel a distance and there's 3 of you now you're trying to actually equip out with things. So it sort of spreads it a bit more thin as far as that goes. So I think it'll be a feast or famine might happen a bit more often, is sort of what you're talking about. Okay. More World of Warcraft experiences to come. This is a blog post that came out from Holly Longdale. It says, "Greetings, citizens of Azeroth. It's been great seeing so many players taking the plunge into Plunderstorm, and we've loved seeing all of the stories and feedback as this experimental event evolves. It will be exciting to see some of the community creators going head-to-head in duos in Plunderstorm Creator Royale on the 30th. That was this past weekend that I was talking about. This isn't the end of the things we want to try out in World of Warcraft, however, and we have more in store we can't wait to show you. Dragonflight Season 4 is en route and being tested on the PTR, and we'll have more news to share. On the next experiment, we have more to share on the next experiment we have up our sleeves. We hope those of you who are looking for PvE-focused content will enjoy what we're planning, all while we continue to press forward on developing our next World of Warcraft expansion, The War Within. We can't wait to share with you all of the many things the team has worked so hard on, with gratitude and excitement for what we'll do next, Holly Longdale." So this, in my opinion, is the Vampire Survivor style game that we're going to be getting that's PvE focused. That's my guess. That's my guess, is they're going to continue branching out, because that was what everyone wanted and everyone was talking about, even at BlizzCon last year, was we want a game that's this style of game. And everyone, for whatever reason, expected the pirate announcement thing to be whatever that was, and then it was Plunderstorm. So I am guessing that we're probably getting some sort of, hey, bit more of a top-down view, running around, beating stuff up, collecting different abilities, becoming more powerful, beating more things up, collecting more abilities, becoming more powerful. I think it could be really cool. Personally, I feel like it fits into StarCraft with a Marine against Zerg more than it fits into World of Warcraft, but it could be really neat and fun, and we'll have to find out and see how that works. So I'll have to wait and see what this actually is. I could be entirely wrong, but it does sound like we are getting a PvE-focused experiment coming up at some point. So look forward to it.
This is really smart from Holly. I feel like their overall communications and PR have been pretty good throughout this whole Dragonflight cycle, and I think it's a great example of it. They know that Plunderstorm is not going to appeal to every WoW player, right? And nothing is going to appeal to every WoW player, right? For sure. And you're adding a mode that's really detached from core WoW gameplay in every imaginable way. You don't even play your own character. And obviously there's been people grousing about it. I've tried not to be like too much of a grump about it. I don't like the mode, and I wish we would have gotten something else, but I don't really want to ruin anybody's day over it with my dumb opinion. You know what I mean? It's just not my thing. So okay, that's it. I obviously prefer PvE just as a concept. Those are the kind of games I primarily enjoy playing are PvE focused. So we know we have something called Pandemonium coming up, and we've seen some weird stuff with like recolors of really, really old gear have been popping up in data mining. I'm talking like tier 2 recolors. There's like 2 new recolors for all the tier 2 sets and stuff that are in the game data now. So who knows what those could be rewards for, or how they're going to be used. Yeah, there was all that noise about a Vampire Survivors style mode or event or something. And now, see, I'd be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from Plunderstorm with something like that. I love Vampire Survivors. It's one of my favorite games of this decade. It's the kind of game I could pick up and play at any time. I have it on PC. I have it on my phone. I have it on my Xbox. I have it on my Switch. Like, I don't anything you put Vampire Survivors on, I will buy it and I will play it, and I will unlock stuff and I will shoot werewolves and zombies and whatever, and I love it. So some kind of thing that is like a WoW themed Vampire Survivors in some version of the WoW client that gives me WoW rewards, dude, I'd play that all day long. Who knows what this really is, but I'm just saying, like, that I could totally 180 on my Plunderstorm poo-pooing if it's something that I like, right? If you give me the thing I like, then absolutely
works. Yeah.
Right, yeah, just give me the thing I like and then I'm happy about it. So I don't know. Obviously, they got something else weird cooking for season 4 and for like the Tale of Dragonflight, and I think it's cool. I mean, we know we got to be getting War Within Alpha soon, right? Like, I mean, they say they're going to ship it this year. We're kind of hoping for like a September, October, like pre-BlizzCon, if there's even a BlizzCon this year, release. We got to see some kind of public testing soon, if that's going to be the case. So I don't know. Hopefully, we get something on that regard, but. One thing that is cool with this whole process is they have given us a bunch of different stuff to do. Like, whether you like it or not, we're getting patches and updates. We're getting this weird experimental content. It's better than the game just sitting in stasis for months with nothing happening except waiting for alpha, then waiting for beta, and then waiting for pre-patch, and then waiting for expansion. I think in the past maybe we've seen more raid tiers. Like, this is 2 expansions in a row where we have 3 tiers, and I feel like on some level that's not enough content for a player like me, but if that helps them line up all these more interstitial updates and just have an overall broader scope of content, it's probably better for more players overall. So I can sort of live with the 3 tiers and then a season 4 kind of remix into a more regular expansion release schedule, and also little patches full of different updates and modes and all these other kind of experiments or surprises or whatever. I guess I can live with that, and I feel like it's probably a better model overall. So I don't know. I don't have any kind of feel for what she is specifically referencing here, but I am certainly looking for PvE focused content. So I hope I enjoy what they're planning. So thanks, Holly.
Yeah, I do hope it turns out as something that people are excited for and are pumped about. I've always said, and I said this inside our Discord channel actually, I want an XCOM style game, a turn-based strategy game that is set in like any, like I'd take a Diablo one, I'd take a StarCraft one, I'd take a World of Warcraft, I'd take any of those 3 universes. Just pick one of those 3 universes, or pick all of them and make an XCOM style turn-based strategy game, and I am like all in. Like, that I would live in that game. That'd be cool so too. Good.
It just kind of veer back into Warcraft strategy game roots, not in like RTS necessarily, like traditional base building RTS.
No.
But like a strategy game. Yeah.
Give me something where I have a base or some sort of like an airship that is sending out squads, and I can customize those squads as to which classes they are and abilities they have and equipment they're wearing, and I can customize the equipment they're wearing, and I can change the color of the gear that they're wearing, and I can name them different things, and I can have them inside a mission trying to take out opposing forces and complete objectives, and there's challenges going on. And you can, in World of Warcraft, you'd have magic being wielded and that kind of stuff, and inside a StarCraft universe you'd have obviously more weaponized sort of systems happening depending on which race you're playing. Like, there's a lot you can do with it, and I just feel like that style of game is just phenomenal. I love that kind of thing. For me, it's totally my jam. So I've been craving something new like that for a while. I've sort of torn through all the ones that I had access to, so I think Blizzard making something like that would be amazing someday down the line if they ever do it. All right, April Trading Post is going on, and I was right when I said last week, hey, there's going to be some things that are probably going to be themed around Easter or spring of that kind, because we definitely did. They have the Spring Revelers Dandelion Transmogs, as well as the Spring Revelers Lavender Transmogs. So as you can guess, those are yellow and sort of like a pinky purple, the lavender color. They also brought back the Dreadwake. If you're someone who did not get the 1-year subscription Dreadwake mount back in BFA, you can now get it. It's a little weird because it didn't actually float on water. That was just what a lot of people complained about when they first got it. It flew over water, which seemed very strange. But they did do some tweaks to it and whatnot. It's a cool mount. It's just really fun. If you haven't gotten the Dreadwake yet, it's certainly worthwhile. Invest in 800 Traders Tender in to pick that up, because it's just a cool thing, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's just really wicked to check out.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a modern classic in my opinion. I mean, I've said it a lot lately that I love the pirate aesthetic and the way that they do it in WoW. I think it's really fun, and that's the hook that I have into Plunderstorm, like in general. But that's why I want to play it, right? If it was just, I don't know, if the theming wasn't like exactly what I want to collect, then I don't know how I'd feel about it. But it happens to be, and the Dreadwake I think was only available that way, right? Like we haven't. It was never.
No, that was how you got it. Yeah.
But was it like a separate cash shop purchase at any point? I can't remember.
I don't think it was.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a really cool mount that is worth picking up, even if it doesn't float like a boat. But I mean, what they hopefully will do is make it a dynamic flyer.
Yes.
That'll be really cool. But
because it would do very well with the swooping kind of nature of dynamic flight. It'd be very cool to see that.
Yeah, it would be awesome. So hopefully that's on the list. Awesome mount. One of my favorites to this day. It's been in for a good 4 or 5 years now, maybe longer than that.
Yep.
But yeah, really good one. A little pricey from the tender perspective, but it is really cool. So I think it's worth a look if you don't have it.
That might be a freeze for those who don't have it, because there's some other really good stuff in here too. And if you only have 1,000 tender for this month to spend, you probably want the Frenzied Hat of the Deep Blue. It is a stitched together like stuffed animal shark hat that you can wear, which is adorable. You probably want the
It's a must. Like you have to get the Frenzied Hat of the Deep. Like this is the kind of thing that they would. I feel like in years past and in older regimes of the game, they would never give you a thing like this that you can just wear, right? Like this would never be like this could be your armor is this plushy shark hat. Like they would never do that because they were trying to keep it more serious. And I mean, I think there is an argument to be made on some of that stuff in some ways. You want stuff to look like Warcraft, but I think Warcraft can also be silly, and you can express that in your WoW character. So I love it. I'm definitely buying the Frenzied Hat of the Deep Blue 100%.
There's also the Trusty Treasure Trove, which is basically a treasure chest you wear on your back as a backpack that you can run around with. Then there's the Dread Admiral's Bicorn, if you're looking for a pirate hat. And the Crimson Bicorn, if you're wanting to be part of the Crimson Crusades sailing fleet, you can do that. Or Scarlet Crusade sailing fleet. All right, the weapon transmogs going on are pretty neat as well, worth checking out. The Emerald Guardian's longbow is like a very neat serpent-style bow that they have kicking around. But the big reward for the month is Aura, which is a duck pet that wears a flower for a hat, which is adorable. So, you got to get that, right? Like it's duck month.
It is, yeah. We're just in a duck era right now, and I'm fine with it. I mean, we had to wait, 18 years to get ducks in this game, and now we have them, and we should make the most out of it. And
that's true. That is true.
It's like a wizard duck. Like it's got like a daffodil, upside down daffodil on its head. That's like a wizard hat, and it's got some kind of crystal staff. So it's some kind of magic wielding duck, which is wonderful. It's also got a little like a cloak or like a scarf tied around its neck. I think a battle pet is not like the coolest. It's not the worst we've had for bonus rewards, but we've gotten a lot of battle pets. I think the mounts and the transmog sets are kind of cooler monthly rewards. But if you're gonna give me a pet, if you give me a magical duck, like I guess I'm not gonna complain that much. So, it is the first. We are past reset time in NA, so it's time to start filling out that traveler's log for the month. Get your bonus and go shopping. They did something a little bit different with the blog preview this month, which is they didn't include screenshots of every item.
Yeah.
There's like selected items they included. So some of the stuff I'll have to go and actually look at in game, because we didn't have it like when we were putting the show together. So I don't know what else is really on my list, but man, the shark hat. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm buying that day one, no questions asked. Because what a cool idea. We kind of had the idea that there'd be some pirate themed stuff for April with Plunderstorm and all that, and some of the other data mining suggested some recolors that might be available from somewhere or whatever. So, yeah, some cool stuff to check out. I think I like when they do these. They have like different theming. Like it's not all Noble Garden this month. There's definitely some of that flavor. There's some pirate stuff. There's some other stuff that's just kind of more like dragon themed or like dragon flight looking. So it's a nice mix. I like that variety versus like the February one. I think just leaned way too hard into Love Is in the Air. And it's like, yeah, it's like if that's not your jam, then there's just nothing. I have thousands of tender banked, so I'm not like afraid of just banking it for a month and saying I'll use this someday. But I think having a couple different themes going on, within a month's inventory is the way to go.
Yeah. The other things I guess I'll highlight just because they're probably worth checking is the Delicate Silk Parasol. So if you're someone who is collecting all of the parasols, be sure that you're getting your Delicate Silk Parasol because it's 200 tender and will go well with your collection, since we've had like 4 or 5 parasols since this thing went live that people are worth checking out. So that's certainly up there on the list as well. For something to check on. And there's some two-handed weapons and some other weapons that might be worth checking out as well. I don't know. So we'll have to do what Jason said and log in and then go and look, because otherwise you're not going to know what else is going on. All right. The Dragonflight Season 4 PTR is available, and with it, there's the new dungeon rotation for Mythic Plus that's going in. So obviously it's all of the Dragonflight dungeons. So you got Algothar's Academy, Brackenhide Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Altharius, Ruby Life Pools, Azure Vault, No Code Offensive, and Uldaman Legacy of Tyr. Those are all back. So there'll be one of those things where they're rewarding awards. The baseline Dawn of the Infinite will be more challenging and rewarding, apparently. However, it will not be included in the bi-weekly rotation. So additional details on the variety of adjustments to dungeons and their progression can be found in their previously published article, which we also have as well. Don't expect to see Dawn of the Infinite rotating through the Mythic Plus pool. That's not going to be part of the pool for this. So
get your teleports for it now.
Yeah,
it was really what the big thing there for end of season 3 housekeeping. A couple things with this. What exactly is the bi-weekly rotation?
Yeah, it's not going to be included in the bi-weekly rotation. So my assumption is Jason is confused. My assumption is we're going to see probably 6 dungeons, and we'll see 2 of them rotate out, is my guess. Is what we're going to see. So that you're more likely to get.
So you think it's going to be? You think the pool is going to shrink? But yeah. So every 2 weeks or
every
twice
2 weeks.
a week?
So no, every 2 weeks. So
okay.
I think it's going to be for this round of Fortified and Tyrannical, you have access to these 6 dungeons. For this round of Fortified and Tyrannical, you have access to those 6 dungeons. That's what I think is going to happen. So people are more likely to target. It might be lower. It might be 4. It might do 4 and 4. Where they mix up those pools. That's entirely possible, because I feel like their objective here is to keep something fresh first and foremost, and also to allow people to target certain dungeons and keys easier, because as soon as the pool gets smaller, people are only getting keys for that pool, so you're more likely to get keys that you want for those particular dungeons. Is how I'm guessing they're sort of testing this. But I could be wrong. You could be right. It could be something where, like,
I don't know,
on every Thursday it changes, or every Friday it changes pools, and it becomes a totally different pool of dungeons, which would be weird. I don't think that makes sense to me.
They've committed 2 sins here. One is that they don't tell us what they're talking about, and the other one is they've used the term bi-weekly, which means literally 2 completely opposite things.
It does.
In modern parlance. So, like, it could mean exactly what you're saying. It could mean the affixes rotate every other week. God, how terrible would that be? It'd be good on a good combo, terrible on a bad combo.
I think
yeah,
it's dungeons. I think it's dungeons are rotating. I think the affixes are going to do what the affixes do.
Yeah, I don't know. This could just be a throwaway line that they didn't even mean this or something. Like maybe there is no bi-weekly rotation. I guess we'll find out. But
yeah.
I'm reading this and going, what are they talking about here? What is rotating either twice a week or every other week? I don't know. I do think there's something cool here about, like, okay, going to all 8 Dragonflight dungeons being in the Keystone pool, I don't like that. But I understand. We haven't had a pool that encompasses all 8 of these dungeons in this entire expansion. And we're now in the home stretch, and it's like, okay, this is the Dragonflight content, so here are the dungeons. I like the fact that Dawn of the Infinite kind of gets a second lease on life as sort of a mega dungeon, right? Like, it's sort of... It might have, I mean, there were cool rewards in there, and depending on tuning and the overall landscape, like, there may be reasons to go in there and do that, mega dungeon, whatever you want to call it, the mythic
experience. Yeah.
It's like a mythic 0, but it's not really a mythic 0 because it's harder than that and it's much larger than that. But yeah, like maybe there will be cool, like, worthwhile reasons to go in there and get some of those rewards, because even at lower item level they might be worth acquiring or whatever. That is something they haven't really cracked before with the mega dungeon, is to have that second lease on life later in an expansion. It's sort of just been, okay, it comes in a midway patch, and then the next rotation it gets split up and moved into the Keystone pool, and then it stays there until the expansion's over. We haven't seen it go back the other way. So I think that is kind of a cool idea. The Mega Dungeon thing is not something I want to do all the time, but it's fun for a couple rounds when it's fresh, So maybe that'll be a cool option to round out a couple pieces. I guess it does mean if the mirror is still good, right? That trinket, like, you're gonna have to do that a lot for whoever needs those trinkets. That might get a little obnoxious, but yeah.
Yeah, no, and again, that bi-weekly could mean a variety of things, so obviously we'll get clarity later, but it could just mean, hey, there's a bi-weekly rotation because one week it's tyrannical and the next week it's fortified. It might mean, hey, it's a bi-weekly rotation because we're going to have access to limited amount of dungeons for that 2-week period, so you can target down certain dungeons. Like, this is an experimental season. Season 4 is their time to play when it comes to, hey, let's try a few things out. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's something as dramatic as, like, we're turning off certain dungeons for certain weeks and gonna make the whole rotation pool much smaller, so you don't have access to as many different dungeons, and you can really be like, hey, I want to push, Algathar's Academy, and it's really easy to get Algathar's Academy keys this week, and tons of people have them because there's only 4 dungeons that we're pulling keys from whenever we get ourselves keys. So that is entirely a possibility for folks. That they might be running into something like that. So it's just worth checking out. Who knows? All right. Anyways, powerful new rewards are going to be coming in. Obviously, the antique bronze bullion is the new currency that you're going to be dealing with, as well as the new gear track for Awakened for folks that are doing that. You can complete all 3 Awakened Dragonflight raids on normal difficulty to receive the Voyaging Wildering dynamic flying dynamic flying mount. It feels like there should be another word. There's 2 ings after each other without, like, a finale word. So it's Voyaging Wildering dynamic flying mount. You can also earn the new achievement title, The Awakened, for completing the Dragon Riding Awakened raids on heroic difficulty. Dedicated defenders can obtain the new Keystone Master mount, the Infinite Armoredon. God, some of the names sometimes. Once the Dragonflight Keystone Master Season 4 achievement is attained, you can get that Infinite Armoredon. Also, those who complete the Dragonflight Awakened raids on Mythic difficulty get access to the path portals to the 3 raids. So you get yourself portals to the raid locations. Apparently they really like that portal idea, so they're spreading it out into raids now. And all 3 raids will drop a new tier token to exchange for new tier pieces, with the appearance and bonus combinations players voted for. The legendary items will drop as usual from raids, but players who have previously obtained them can purchase a Scale of Awakening to upgrade their items to the Season 4 eye levels, which is base 502, and can be upgraded further through crests and flight stones. So there you go, folks. There's your reason to have held out trying to get your axe this entire time. is you at least can get an item that will let you upgrade your axe over again. And hopefully it won't take so long to get it, because they say you can purchase them with a Scale of Awakenings. Hopefully the Scale of Awakening is a fairly common drop for folks, and they can just go and buy the upgrade thing without doing a huge quest chain track to do so. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I think that is how it's going to work, but I assume you're going to need the antique bronze bullion for that, which now that's basically this expansion's version of Dinar, which we had in Shadowlands Season 4. Now, that was 3 per character ever, right? And it was like, what, kill 30 raid bosses for the first one, then 20 raid bosses, then 10 raid bosses.
I don't even know if I used all my Dinar. I think I might still have Dinar on my character.
Right?
Yeah.
I begrudgingly used them because I couldn't get particular drops that I wanted. I remember there was something I was holding out for that never showed up, and I was like, well, I guess I'm buying it.
2 Dinar left or something, yeah. I definitely used one of them. I definitely used one of them.
Yeah, well, the first one was like so early on that it was like, you know, it kind of a no-brainer, right? Or especially if you're looking for something from like Sylvanas or whatever, you know, like
I think it was a trinket. I think I had to buy a certain trinket. Yeah.
Just buy it. Now, so they don't really say right now how we're going to acquire the bullion and if there's any kind of, you know, cap like that. I think it's reasonable to assume so, just because that's the way we've seen it before, but it's a different expansion, it's a different season, so it might have different rules. I kind of hope that there is no cap on the bullion, because why not just reward people for logging and continuing to do stuff? Let me kit my character out however I want to, and if I'm a class that has a legendary, why are you making me use one of my limited upgrade items to upgrade this thing I had to bust my ass to be able to get? You know, like it shouldn't be as punitive, I don't think. So we'll see how it actually turns out. Maybe I should actually get my Fearlath completed at some point. I still haven't done it, but like I just have no utility for the thing. I'm never going to use it, and it's a pain to the quest chain is pretty awful to turn it from a quest item into an axe. So I haven't done it yet, but I mean, I do like. You know, I like what they're doing here. Like, obviously, we're getting the big item level jump, so you're going to have, you know, a bunch more character power. Getting a dynamic flying wilderling is pretty cool. They're like the cat, wolf, dragon-looking things from Shadowlands, from, like, Ardenweald. So having a dynamic flying one of those is pretty sweet, even though it's not, like, some brand new concept of a thing to ride around on. And, the armored ons for Keystone Master have been pretty underwhelming. Like, you're giving me a ground mount in Dragonflight, like, okay.
I know,
but
I know. It's just not. It's too bad, right? Because there's so many creatures in this game that are phenomenal artistic creatures that you'd love for people to get. Like, I love some of the turtle mounts. Some of the turtle mounts are phenomenal, just really cool looking mounts. Now, we haven't gotten the Mario turtle shell with wings that you fly around on, right? Like, that doesn't exist in this game. Maybe someday you'll get a turtle shell with wings that you can fly around on, but right now you don't. But they're just such a cool mount, and you want to use them, but then it's not dragon riding, so it doesn't have that advantage. Yeah. It can't fly, so it doesn't have that advantage. Sure, it can swim fast on some of these mounts, but, like, how often do we run into that anymore? So, like, they're cool to have, but, like, when are you actually using them? I almost need, like, I need a flying carpet for my turtle mount, so I can get on my turtle mount, which is then on a flying carpet, which flies it around. I don't know. Like, you know? Oh.
Yeah, it's just like, we've always kind of had that problem where ground mounts are sort of just overtaken by flying mounts, and then in Dragonflight, obviously, it was even worse because it's only the dragon riding dynamic flight mounts that you really want to ride. But whatever. I don't think I've mounted one of my Keystone Master mounts all expansion even to look at it. I do like the fact that there's like an Omni token that's going to be in all 3 raids.
Right.
It would be really cool if that was the only token that dropped. I would imagine that what they mean here is this is from end bosses of those raids, but it should be pretty easy to get your team kitted out with Season 4 tier sets and everything. So that's great. I think that should always be an inclusion. Your final boss should always be dropping Omni tokens, and the point here. I think they got there eventually with Season 4 in Shadowlands, but it took a few weeks to get out of the gate, really. For me, the point for Season 4 should just be sort of a celebration of the content, like a victory lap. Let's go have fun. There's no cutting edge. There's no Hall of Fame. There's no race. There's some stuff tied to rating, but that's sort of always there with any kind of rotation. It should just be more about having fun and enjoying the game, enjoying the content. So hopefully they get there quicker in Dragonflight Season 4. And I think a big part of that would be if Booleans either have no cap or are capped way higher than 3. And, people can actually just get whatever they want by participating in the game. Also, I wanted to just mention one other thing here. The Awaken track, I think, is really interesting because you buy the stuff on the Awaken track, and the Awaken track goes pretty much all the way up from like normal to, mythic quality gear. And this is smart because it prevents people from making permanently bad choices for the season, where like they bought something at low rank and then eventually ranked out of it, but now they spent a thing that they can't get back, or that's very punitive, and they're stuck with this low item level version of the thing. And it also works the other way around too, because this way you're not encouraging people to slam really low level stuff just for acquisition or whatever, right? Like you can do whatever you want, and then you buy the thing at this baseline, and then you can upgrade it wherever you want it to go just from the content you're already doing. It's really tough when they sort of have these systems where the correct thing to do is do a +2 over and over and over again until you get the drop, and then make it everyone else's problem, and then you use your valor. Like we saw this in Shadowlands a lot, right? Use your valor to upgrade the item. So I think having the different tiers should help with that a bit. I think Awakened is kind of smart, and I don't know. It would be interesting to see if they're ultimately like happy with something like that, just having like a unified track that has these sort of built-in rails where it's like, okay, you have to do this level of content to get this up higher. I don't know. I wonder, like, I know stuff isn't going to, I'm not under the impression stuff is going to drop on the Awakened track. It seems like it's only from the bullion vendor. So I think that's a smart way to do the vendor gear. And I wonder if there's any thought of maybe unifying this stuff a bit more. You do run into the problem if everything is like that forever, that of what I mentioned earlier, of people just slamming low rank keys that they're trying to just do as quickly as possible for drop chances. Like you need to figure out a way to avoid that. But I like the idea of not having those brackets on the gear, right? And I have a cool piece of gear I got from Heroic Raid, and because I'm participating in high level Mythic Plus or some Mythic rating, that I can upgrade it, and I don't need to wait for another drop. That can be really beneficial for a lot of players. So it's just balancing out that you don't want to create that toxicity, right, of high level players doing low level content. That's the tricky thing.
Yeah, and you certainly don't want it, well, because that toxicity can get really bad. You certainly don't want to have players essentially finding the min-max way to do something is to run low-level content, who then ruin low-level content for people who actually want to do that content, because you have people who are like, I'm here, let's finish it, let's go, I'm pulling everything, and then just get angry at people through the whole run, mixed with people who are like, hey, I'm just trying to figure this out, and here I am learning and just doing my thing, wanting to chill, relax day. I thought I'd do something easy. You don't want those pools of players mixing all that often, because it does create a lot of issues. All right. But I will say there's a couple more things I want to highlight in this post. I don't want to get too into the deep nitty gritty or recap stuff that we've already covered a few times. But I will mention that ahead of the curve for players working towards Emerald's Feat of Strength, a reminder that you'll need to achieve the head of the curve for Farak the Blazing before Season 4 begins, because it'll no longer be available once that kicks off. They also did mention a little bit inside a post about the hotfix post about the hard mode for Dawn of the Infinite, saying that it's going to be available, it is currently available for testing, and that hard mode does not have a timer and rewards a hero track item. Hard mode is intended to be more challenging than a standard mythic difficulty dungeon, so that's something else that folks can check into. In the meantime, the things that they're currently working on balance-wise, obviously, is raising all of the dungeons that are going to be in the pool up difficulty-wise to match with where the gear is going to be at. So there's a lot of dungeon fixes happening constantly. So if you are someone who's hopping in and doing PTR, be sure you are giving feedback about the dungeons and how they work, because it has like not only just the actual dungeons themselves being scaled, but it's the whole new track as far as how mythic difficulty goes, where mythic 0 is now a +5 and a +10 is now a +20 from where it was previously. All that kind of stuff is happening. So we'll recap that whole change again once we get closer to actual release of this, because we'll see if they actually tweaked it at all, but also just to remind you, and I don't want to just get into the nitty gritty of that kind of like brain math that's involved with figuring that stuff out for folks this early ahead of when it's going to go live. So we're just not going to cover it. Yeah, we'll do that later. We'll just save it.
Yeah, plus it'll all make way more sense once you're actually out and playing it anyway.
Yeah,
like
we're closer to playing it, yeah.
I've seen so much confusion and misunderstanding about it, and I think the messaging has been kind of not super clear. So, we'll recap it once Season 4 actually comes out, and when you get in there and play, you're going to go, oh, okay. Anyway, what are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. Season of Discovery Phase 3 is going live this Thursday. That's right, the 4th of April. You can mark your calendar and hop in to be able to enjoy the content starting at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 4 p.m. Eastern. Adventurers can level from 41 to 50, earn up to 10 additional talent points, and brave new encounters in the Sunken Temple as the new 20-player raid experience on a 1-week lockout, discovering new runes and abilities and more along the way. There are going to be 6 new runes for each class by engaging in fun new puzzles, quests, and secrets. Utilize 2 new gear slots available as the helm and bracers to apply your new runes. There's going to be nightmare incursions where you can take part in all new outdoor PvE events that are going on and learn more about the story tie-in between the mysterious dream portals and the new Sunken Temple raid. Each new item allows you to gain reputation with the new faction, the Emerald Wardens, as you progress, and players will cross into the Emerald Nightmare through these mysterious portals in 4 locations around the world: Ashenvale, Duskwood, Hinterlands, and Feralas. Content is available for players who are leveling up as well as maximum level players as they unravel the storyline. There's going to be new PvP rewards, as you'd expect. The actual raid itself is going to have 8 bosses in it for Sunken Temple. Can't remember how much classic Sunken Temple had bosses-wise, but I feel like it was more than that, but people just didn't do it as often. So it's 8 bosses is what we're looking forward to as far as that 20-player raid goes. And players can also gain access to new class quests and quest rewards within the raid dungeon. Players will also be able to rediscover Blackrock Depths, Moradon, and Zul'Farrak dungeons with all new loot at maximum level, as well as people who want to catch up and actually did not play a lot of Season 2, because I know there's a lot of us out there who didn't. Players now get the benefit of the Discoverer's Delight experience buff, which increases reputation gains by 100% all the way through level 39. And with the release of Phase 3, players will discover an additional 50% experience buff from 40 to 49. So helping people get to that 50% faster. It's a great time to join in and prepare for the fun of Season of Discovery Phase 3, whether you're joining for the first time or creating and leveling a whole new character. And you can please visit any innkeeper in the capital cities to turn off or on the experience buff, if that's something you're wanting to do, and experience it a little bit differently than everyone else. All right, so unpackaging this, excited for the new raid. I think a 20-person raid is the way to go, and I think hopefully they carry that through to level 60, scaling some of the raid sizes back, because I don't think 40 players is a realistic thing to ask any server to do at the moment consistently. So that makes me very happy to see them go 20. They're probably going to live with 20. We'll see how that goes as far as content goes. If it's a big flub, I want to see them pivot. I want to see them being willing to reduce that number to 15 or 10 to try and help people actually accomplish it. I know there are teams right now, because we're unwinding, obviously because this week's Phase 3 launch, that are having trouble fielding a 10-player raid team. So, and I know that there were teams that had trouble fielding a 10-player raid team like a month and a half ago. So I do question, like, 20 players might see some mergers of teams. It might see people having to pull in a lot more pugs. If it's not a good experience, I just want to be sure they're going to pivot. And I think they'd say, yes, we'll be watching it and we'll see if we're going to pivot. So I have faith in this team that they're going to do well with this whole thing. 6 new runes that you find through new puzzles, quests, and secrets. I am a little skeptical of this. The number one flaw, in my opinion, with Phase 2 was that runes, and not just runes, but the class ability books, were not things that players naturally found themselves finding. Now, the class books, you might be like, hey, those all came out of Scarlet Monastery. Yes, which meant that you had to run more than one time those wings of Scarlet Monastery and hope that the thing dropped. I have run all of the wings on Scarlet Monastery more than one time on my druid and have not seen a book. So they are not 100% drops. If they are, then somehow they got missed multiple times, which I doubt they did. this is one of those situations where, all right, guys, it's easy to pass by these things and not know they exist. Having to farm for them like that, not exactly a great experience when it's not max level content. And if it's max level content, that means it's not a great experience for runes because players aren't getting those things to dynamically change their class early on in the experience. So phase 2 suffered in a big way from putting runes in places where players didn't naturally bump into them and find them. And on top of that, putting runes that you do happen to find, if you did in fact look up a guide or go on Wowhead to try and find them, that were max level required or close enough to max level required that you then didn't get an improved leveling experience. And in that case, you might as well just set my character to max level so I can check out the new stuff, because that's what you want to do. So I think the discovery part of Season of Discovery is really important. So when they say discover 6 new runes, I hope these are things that are well placed along the leveling track, that as people are going from 40 to 50, they come across at least 2 runes that they're able to get that hopefully they can use for whatever spec that they're playing to make it a fun experience for those players. Because that's what I struggled with for phase 2. I literally leveled through questing, which was brutal, from all the way up to level 40, and didn't find a single rune from phase 1 to phase 2. I didn't stumble across a single rune in that period of time. And when I did finally actually go, hey, you know what, I'm going to look one up because this one actually looks kind of fun and I want to try it out, it was one that required me to be level 40 to be able to kill the giant elite that it came off of. And I was like, oh, well, come on, guys. Let's actually make this something that's viable for players to be able to get and experience. Like, I would be absolutely okay if Season Discovery was like, all right, in your first 2 levels, you will get all of your runes. I'd be fine with that. That wouldn't bother me at all. I don't think the end game experience for Season Discovery should be run around and find all your runes. And I don't think runes in general should be something that you have to basically be a part of a secret discovery Discord to be a part of the discovering them, or go on Wowhead and look at a guide. That's not fun. That's not discovery at all. So I feel like they should be saying things that players go, hey, that's interesting. This looks like it shouldn't be here. And it has, or hey, I got a drop and this item has quest text on it basically, but it's not a quest, but it seems like it's important in some way. So maybe I'll hang on to this and maybe this will make sense. And then you find out the thing that it goes with, or there's a clue on it that leads you to the thing that it goes to. Like that to me is neat and discovery and fun. It's not fun to be like, hey, I hit max level. Now let me go and try and find all these runes by pulling up guides on Wowhead and them walking me through how to do it. That's not exciting. So I think they need to hit that mark really well with phase 3. So I'm hoping they do as far as all that goes. Nightmare Incursions, pretty neat thing. New event, new sort of dynamic style to play the game. Outdoor events can be a lot of fun. They can also be, kind of slow and boring and take 30 minutes and you follow a tree around. But Super Bloom is its own thing. So I'm hoping Nightmare Incursions are a really good time and they actually help players get geared up and feel like they're getting valuable rewards and make people really excited to sort of explore the content more. So that I'm looking forward to as well. I do know that they're keeping the Blood Moon event and Stranglethorn, and I know people who do a lot of Blood Moon event and Stranglethorn and find it kind of monotonous and basically like, hey, just get a bunch of mages together and AoE stuff down and voila, you're done. That shouldn't be a solve. So I do think they need to revisit that Blood Moon event if they are going to keep it viable through this phase. So I hope they put some attention towards that and making it a little bit, I guess, more interesting to participate in. I just literally haven't. The PvP stuff inside Season Discovery does not interest me, period. Like, not in the least. I did the Ashenvale thing once, and I was like, eh. And then I was a part of the Blood Moon event without knowing I was, because I just got ganked twice, and then was like, oh, where do I turn this off? How do I get rid of this? And that just soured me on the entire thing, and I just haven't gone back, because, yeah, like, it needs to be a fun experience, and it wasn't for me in the first times I experienced it, so I'm out. It's not worth my time. So, yeah, I feel like hopefully they revisit Blood Moon and make it more dynamic for those who are enjoying it, who have complained about it. And yeah, otherwise the experience buffs are wonderful. I think experience gained by 100% makes a lot of sense. I almost feel like it should be 150 up to 39 and then 100% up to 49 is what I actually feel like it should be, because I think you just want players to get to the end game and experience it. You're going to have 2 months. That's what we get. We get like 10 weeks tops to experience a season. So people want to spend that time at max level, and you're releasing the raid with the lockout available in the week you release it on, and you're releasing it on a Thursday, which means you have Thursday evening, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to hit max level and raid as a 20-player group if you want to get a raid in that lockout. Why would you do that? Why would you not just say there's no raid in the first lockout? Why would you give players the option? Because you know what's going to happen. People are going to get like race to max level as fast as they can to try and get in that extra lockout. It just doesn't make sense. So, either push the raid back by raid lockout back by a week and have it not available the first week, or give people a larger experience buff so it's less of a slog and sort of a thing that people are like, going into. Like, I know people who are maxing out their quest logs with completed quests so they can just turn in a bunch of quests the moment the thing goes live because they're trying to shorten that thing as much as possible. It just seems very strange. So if people aren't looking forward to the leveling experience, you should probably make it faster if they want it to be faster. And if people who want to experience the leveling thing, you already have the option for innkeepers to turn it off. So that's where my mind goes with that. Overall, I'm looking forward to Season Discovery, looking forward to digging into it. I think the changes are good. I just hope they hit the mark with runes and going through the rune stuff. I hope they hit the mark with the outdoor event. And I hope that the PvP stuff gets revisited, because all those things will make this a much better experience than Phase 2 was for me. So it could be good.
Yeah, I think the leveling is really the big problem with this whole concept, and it's what turned me off from. I didn't play Phase 2 hardly at all. I logged in one time after I played Phase 1 that much. I really didn't want to level again, and I don't think I'm going to pick it back up for Phase 3.
Yeah.
Nobody that I was playing with is really into it at this point, which is a huge deal. And yeah, 20-player raids is completely out of reach for the group I was playing with.
Right.
I like the idea of nightmare incursions, and I think having some kind of outdoor PvE, like just kind of repeatable PvE thing to go log in and do, would have been huge. And for me in Phase 1, I felt like I was wanting something like that, and I was just raid logging for the last few weeks. So that does seem kind of cool, depending on what the rewards are and stuff and how it works. But I like that concept. I like that addition of Season of Discovery. I don't really know what it would take for me to get back in at this point. Now I'm, as of Thursday, I'm going to be even farther behind. I have so much leveling to do and nobody to play with once I get there. So I don't know. I do think Season of Discovery is really cool, and it's really like never too late to jump into it if you want to, and if you want to, if your group wants to play it, like, yeah, you can do it like relatively fast, I guess, but I think that the phases have been rolled out too fast for the casual player. For somebody who's just kind of dipping into SOD just to check it out, it's way too fast for me. I don't have time to do that much leveling and to kind of reset my character up over and over and over again. It's a shame. I kind of wish that I did. I would like to be able to do it more, but I don't know. It's a shame that I fell off of it so hard, because I do think it's a great concept, and I think it's a really cool and fun way to play WoW, but the cadence is just way too fast, man. I wanted to sit at level 25 for much longer, and by the time it was like, oh, maybe I'll catch up on Phase 2, now it's already over, you know what I mean? So it's a very weird thing. I think it's serving the most dedicated players, which is cool, but I didn't really think that that's what it was about, and this particular phase seemed like it was really, really short. So,
yeah,
maybe the whole point is just to get to 60 as quickly as possible, and then we'll see. Maybe it's 60. Maybe we have this kind of stasis that we're in where there's no more leveling, but there's going to be different content and events and stuff like that. And so maybe then it'll be time to catch up, because, okay, I can jump from end game activity to end game activity every 2 or 3 months or whatever, but I don't have that whole leveling and relearning, the economics of it, training skills up and setting up different rotation priorities, regearing, all that. Like, that's not happening on a huge scale every 2 to 3 months if we're all just at level 60 all the time. Like, that could be really cool. So, I'll keep an eye on it. I don't know if I'm out forever, but I think while we're in this level up phase of the whole experience, I don't know, man, I might just be done.
Yeah, so the thing I struggle with when I think about catching up for someone who hasn't played it yet or really experienced it yet is that feeling of having to get all your runes, or having to get the runes for the spec that you play. And now with the books, and the books being buried in things like Scarlet Monastery, it's like, okay, now not only do I have to level up a character, I'm passive that passively gains me talents along the way that I'm spending points in, and I'm learning new abilities, and these abilities are cool and that kind of stuff. I also have to be sure I'm watching a whole bunch of online guides to be able to actually be able to then go way out of my way, and in some cases spend like an hour doing a puzzle to be able to get a rune for an ability so I'm relevant in the current content. And so I do feel like they need a way for runes to start to be able to be purchasable from a vendor or given to players at a certain point when they're far enough ahead level-wise from those runes. If I haven't found XYZ rune by the time I'm 20 levels above the content that it's from, you need to find a way to accelerate getting me that rune. And the reason why I say something like that is because of what you mentioned. The season itself is such a short thing, right? You only have so much time to commit to playing the game within that season before it moves into the next phase. So at this point, if you are someone who's like, hey, I'm hopping in, I want to level up to 50, and you just sort of put your head down and you're leveling up to get to 50 because you want to catch up with your buddies to play with them, and you miss 5 runes that you need along the way, and now you're 50, you then have to go and look at the guides to figure out where those things are, and then dedicate another 10 hours of your life, if not more, game time wise, to just trying to get those runes and finding where they are and doing them. One of the runes for me as a druid that I had to get required me to collect a seed item inside Moonglade, and then without using any form of fast travel to 3 other places on that continent that are all the way down to the south of the continent. So, well, and on the other continent. So I had to like go from Moonglade to Swamp of Sorrows to do something with this seed. I had a time limit to do it within, and it was something that if I died, obviously I had to start over. If I used a portal, I had to start over. If I Hearthstoned, I had to start over. So you're like, okay, if you're going to put things like this in, this is a neat thing for players to sort of try and do, but it is a large time commitment. And if you're like, okay, if there's 3 or 4 runes that are all on that level, you do hit that 10 to 15 hours of just collecting runes point pretty early on because of how they chose to lay this out. And that's a large time commitment. Like in some cases, that's probably as much time as I'm going to spend leveling from 40 to 50. So you're like, okay, like and that's if I'm grinding dungeons or whatever it is. And I do feel like you have to respect that with players. And so I think that there should be a point where runes from previous phases are just given to players or have an equivalent way of gaining those runes along the way. Because at this point, there's no discovery involved in them. You're literally Googling on Wowhead how to get a rune is what the majority of players, like vast majority of players are doing. And once they actually find out what that guide is, they then just have to follow the guide, which just takes a bunch of time. So I do feel like they need a way for catch up in that case, because otherwise it is just a more daunting task. Like even for you, you're like, okay, I got 0 runes from phase 2. So now I've got a level from phase 2 to phase 3, which is an even larger level. Sorry, from the beginning of phase 2 to phase 3, which is an even larger level gap to cover. And once I get there, I then have to spend 20 hours getting all my runes. And you're like, great, that's a huge time commitment. I'm just out. I'm just checked out. I'm done. Right.
Like, plus the econ commitment of training skills and mount costs. You know what I mean? It's like that's also a huge thing that makes me go, I'm kind of out. Like, it's a shame. I wish I wasn't out, but I just at the moment, again, maybe once we're in phase 5 or whatever, we're up to level 60, then maybe, or I guess phase 4. We'll see. Because maybe at that point, then the goalposts are going to shift around a lot less, presumably. So it's like, okay, here's everything. I can take a wider view of it, and maybe it's more digestible that way. Being on the treadmill this much is just a big turnoff for somebody who is. I just want to play the game casually, like level up, maybe do like 1 raid night a week with some friends or whatever, and that's all I'm really looking for. But it seems out of reach for me right now without having to. First, I guess a big part of it too is I have to really rally the troops. You know what I mean? Or find brand new people to play with, which neither of those things sound very appealing to me. Part of the problem is you need sort of that critical mass of people to play with in a game like this, and without it, it's a real chore. It's really daunting.
Yep, it can be. So hopefully this phase kicks off really well, and I hope they take the feedback and can actually do something with it that players have been giving. And the biggest thing for me is like have runes be fun to discover in the leveling process, and have a catch up for players when it comes to runes and the skill books. Like just give them to players. Like we have moved on from this content. This is no longer relevant content for players. Once they hit a certain level point, just give it to them, please. Or make them accessible from a store or whatever it is. from an in-game shop. Like that to me would be fine. To be like, hey, it's going to cost you 20 gold, but you can buy all of the runes that you missed from phase 2. Perfect. Done. Here you go. That's great, because it's just not fun to be the person who's like, all right, yeah, I'd love to raid with you, but I still don't have this rune yet, so I can't do it yet. So just give me 2 hours and I'll see if I can't try and get this. Like, that's not a fun experience for people.
Well, how about this? I mean, even just put in content around the outdated runes, right? Like, okay, this rune is from a previous phase. Now there's a quest that instructs you what to go do to get it or whatever. Put more gameplay around it.
I would love that, but
I think something like that would be more appealing to somebody like me, who I love the concept of SOD. I had a great time playing it, but now I don't want to get back into it because I don't want to do all this catch up and maintenance, right? Like, if there was more of a gameplay focus on the acquisition for this stuff, and maybe include some nice gold rewards so I can get in there and not have to worry about my trainer costs and all that. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think the breakneck pace of SOD makes it really tough. I mean, I know there's like the classic audience is a very hardcore audience, like the core classic audience, and if they need care and feeding, and they need frequent updates for something like this. So I get it, and I'm just kind of on the outside looking in, which is fine. I have to pick my lane, in when it comes to WoW in general, and so that's the way it is. But it was fun having like a month and a half or so there where I could really just play it a lot and really get everything out of it. That was awesome. I wish it could always be like that.
I agree. I wish it could always be like that. I wish it was a 10-hour commitment to level, and within that 10 hours you got all your runes and everything, and then your max level, and then you just got to casually play the thing. Like, it's always been my complaint about the Diablo 3 game. Whenever they would do new seasons and you had to level a new character, the leveling part was always the slog. Once you hit max level, you can start having fun. Right. The leveling part was always the slog. Like, just
a lot of times the seasonal gimmicks were not even in the level up, know, so you were just playing pretty much like vanilla, like Diablo 3 level, like Reaper of Souls leveling, and for hours and hours and hours. If you're doing it solo, and there are ways to speed that up, but still, I mean, the first thing you had to do was get in and just level up for no reason. And it's like, this is not, it was cool sometimes when they would have modifiers that would work during level up. Those were actually really fun. But without something like that, it's like, let me just make a level 60 template. Who cares?
Yeah. And that's sort of where we're at with this, of unless we're getting the runes just thrown in our faces as we level up, you're not getting the modifiers that make it fun, which means that you're essentially just doing the normal level up experience. So we'll see. Anyways, that's coming out Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to give you guys feedback next week on how that all went and what it felt like, and we'll talk to you then about it. Until then, we want to take a moment here to thank our patrons. They contribute a ton to our show and help us to improve on the content we create. And I'm giving a special shout out today to Alianas, Arajian, James, Kapawi, Max, Pinky, Shorel, and Rager. Thank you so much for what you give, as well as what all of our patrons give. It is all appreciated and all goes towards supporting and funding the show to keep it on the air and all the news hitting your ears. You can find our Patreon over at patreon.com/thestartingzone. And join up there and support the show. We have newest patrons this week, Alex S. and Bean. Thank you so much for hopping in and supporting the show. It means a lot to us. And man, you guys keep the lights on. So thank you, patrons. Every little bit counts. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, patrons. Welcome aboard new patrons as well. And thank you all patrons past and present for supporting the show over the years, and letting us keep the archives online and do everything we need to do to keep the show running, keep the show produced at a high level, devote the time to get it recorded for you. We really appreciate it. It means a lot. It does help us, get the show produced and out to you. So we appreciate it, and thank you for chipping in with us.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up episode 625 of The Starting Zone. If you want to check out show notes for this episode or leave us a comment on the show, you can head on over to the Starting Zone podcast, the official website for The Starting Zone. It's called thestartingzone.com. And if you want to support the show another way, you can do that through your iTunes, your Apple Podcasts, leaving us those 5-star reviews. We'll read them here on the show, but they do help us boost up those charts, which is really nice when we actually get those little additions thrown in there. And we read them here live on the show, and they're fun to read on the show. Another way to contact the show is you can reach out to us on Twitter or on Gmail at thestartingzone@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us in our Discord server, thestartingzone.com/Discord. You can join in there and ask us questions and participate with the community and chatting with everyone over there. You can also get your hands on some TSE gear. That's teepublic.com/stores/thestartingzone. We got shirts and mugs and stickers and stuff like that over there if you're looking for some swag. And Jason, where can folks find you on the internet?
The best place to find me, as always, is over on Twitter. You can find me over there at Shieldwald, and you can also find me over on Blue Sky, over at Jay Lucas over there. You can find my video channels at twitch.tv/Shieldwald and youtube.com/Shieldwald. They've been dormant for quite a while, but I'll probably be back streaming when Season 4 starts. I don't think I'm going to be doing any Tuesday night, Amir Drassil cleanup or Plunderstorm streams. I don't see that in my future, but check out the channels. I will be streaming over there eventually. So once Season 4 kicks off, we'll get back in there and get into it.
Nice. If you're trying to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Spencer_Downey, over on Blue Sky at SpencerHD, on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpencerHD, or on YouTube at youtube.com/@SpencerHD. And with that, for Jason and myself, we want to say thanks for listening, and jobs done.